What's good? What's good? Welcome everybody. How has everyone been? Welcome back to another video. Honestly, it's the second day of the month, and I think that today I had the best day that I will this month. Not in terms of like the numbers, like amount of money I made, but in terms of like RR with the setups that I took. So what a good first couple days of the week. God bless. I'm gonna be going over both of the setups that I took today, what was going through my head, basically just a trade recap. So you can see here, this one was a 2.5R, and then this one was 9R. If you want to see the live recording for the trade, I posted 2 shorts today of me actually in the trade. But yeah, here is the P&L up on the screen, low 2.3K day. Not trying to focus so much on the numbers, just trusting the process, and I know everything will fall into place. So let's get straight into it. We have 2 setups today instead of 1. So I'm gonna try to be a bit quicker than usual on my explanation. All right, so when I woke up in the morning again today, it was the classic wake up like 5 minutes before market open, look at market structure, didn't like it, like let me go back to sleep, But in actuality, it wasn't actually a bad morning at all. I mean, it's a Tuesday. You'd expect to win Tuesday AM, but there was this like 5 minute right here you could have taken. Personally, if I saw this during real time, I probably would have taken it to all-time highs, which probably would have caused me to be break even. So I'm kind of glad that I went back to sleep. So I woke up, took my time, doom scrolled for a little bit, got ready, made breakfast, made coffee, and then I hopped on the charts. No rush, really detaching from the charts. Like, I'm not trying to chase after a setup. I'm waiting for a setup to present itself to me, and that's really helped me with my patience and with everything related to trading. So when I got on, we were around here at 12:30 my time. And so obviously, right, at all-time highs, we're going to be hitting this uptrend. And so just waiting for the perfect pullback to continue further into all-time highs. So here is the uptrend I'm generally trying to follow, waiting to see what pullback, what fair value gap presents itself to me, waiting for price to pull back into it and then taking the long. Of course, that's ideal, but not every time we're going to do that. So the most obvious fair value gap during that time was this 1 hour bullish fair value gap right here. And so here is the 1 hour bullish fair value gap marked out. And as I got on around 12:30, I knew that, okay, before I start looking for longs, let's wait until this 1 hour fair value gap is tapped into. And I was actually like, quick reference to a trade that I missed. This 30-second right here, I got on like right after this 30-second played out. Like, imagine this, boom, stop loss at the low, and then we need a good target. So a good target during that time was an unfilled gap, which is the unfilled 15-minute here. And so boom, targeting the unfilled 15-minute with a bullish bias. This would have been a clean, 2.2, 2.3 R setup. Man, like I hopped on, and this literally just played out, and I was like, dang. Like, I just missed it. I was like, okay. Like, it's still gonna work. Let's see what we can do here. So we did end up perfectly tapping. If you look here, perfectly tapping the 15-minute. And so, of course, that's a good opportunity. Generally, at this point, we're on a downtrend on the lower time frame, even though higher time frame or overall context, we're at all-time highs, but smaller time frame, we are bearish. So could have taken like these shorts over here for like 1R or -R, maybe a break even setup, but that's not what I was looking at. I was still in the mindset that, like, okay, we're still bullish, especially considering the fact that even if we're in a downtrend, this is like sort of my discretion here, right? If you look at the 5-minute here of how price was at that time, look at this. Like, even if, right, my bias was wrong and price was on a downtrend, I kind of want it to pull up to around the 50% in order for price continues down. Here, let's mark it out where the 15-minute is. If you look at where the 15-minute is and where it was tapped barely before it continued down, I mean, not really continued down, but you know what I mean. Like the 15-minute gap isn't even at the 50% yet. This is like, again, the discretion market experience part. Ideally, right? I thought in my head, even if my bias is wrong and we're going short, like we would want price to pull higher into the fib. So if this is the 50% here of this bearish leg, you guys see this bearish leg right here. If this is the 50% and we didn't even tap into it yet, I want to see a deeper retrace before we continue down right here. And so I saw at 0.618 aligns itself really well with this 5-minute fair value gap here. So I thought to myself, we barely tapped into the 15-minute fair value gap right here, right? We barely tapped into a 15-minute gap and then we start going down. I'm like, nah, I'm not convinced. I think we need to tap into this 5-minute in an ideal zone before we continue with the downtrend. Because like if you think about a downtrend, it's like usually like this, right? So this is somewhere around the 50%. But if it did that, if it respected this 15-minute bullish fair value gap, this pullback would be like this, and then it continues down instead of the typical like around 50%. You know what I mean? So it didn't make sense to me. I wanted to see it go higher, and then also it helped that overall the higher time frame narrative, higher time frame context, whatever you want to call it, it was bullish because we're at all-time highs. You know what I mean? So as soon as price dipped down here, I was like, okay, I know there's 5 minutes to goal here. Let's look for it. We already are delivering off this 1 hour fair value gap. I don't want to short inside of this. It's a low percentage, low win rate. The best opportunity I could find here on the 30-second. So we're chopping down, and then finally a clean 30-second fair value gap opens up right here. And I took the long off this candle closure, stop loss at the low, and then targeting this unfilled 5-minute. Usually I don't target unfilled 5 minutes, right? Usually it's 15, 30, 1 hour, 4 hour unfilled gaps. But this is the implication of all the knowledge that I have is that market context and discretion and experience is what really sets traders apart. And I had conviction in my play. I had conviction in my idea. Discretion sometimes could be hard to explain, but that's why, I'm trying my best to put it into words for you guys to understand the decisions that I made, Like another thing, even though price did tap into this 15-minute right here, it basically did leave like equal highs, like relatively equal highs. This just doesn't look right to leave and then continue down, like continue down here while leaving all these highs, especially since we're at all-time highs. You would think we want to take out all this liquidity up here before we go down. But if we're so bullish because we're at all-time highs, I mean, it kind of makes sense to leave a whole bunch of liquidity below and then just continue higher. Not this way though. And so as soon as this got tapped into, I immediately looked for another setup here. And again, knowing that this recent time frame here, we're pretty bearish and we've taken out a good amount of liquidity now, did a great pullback. I knew that it was a great time for us to now go and take out this liquidity down here. And so especially like the way the chart was looking on ES, like ES was forming crazy LR. And I was like, okay, like ES definitely wants to go take out these lows before continuing higher. Like, let me also take the short on NQ, which is why I don't think this was a bad setup here. Like targeting this low, could have gone 2R for it, and it ended up being break even. And so I actually did take that setup and it ended up being break even. And so I waited for my next opportunity to target this low. As I saw price, coming down and pulling back up here, I was looking at any confluence I could look at to start looking for a short entry. So on the 15-minute here, you could see that we formed a rejection block. And so here's the rejection block. We tapped into it and I immediately looked for an entry. I didn't even wait because I had so much conviction that we needed to inverse this entire tiny 30-second, and I just entered straight up before this low right here, and it ended up being a 9R setup. This trade especially was like super satisfying to watch. I have the recording again, on YouTube Shorts, on TikTok, if you guys want to watch. Like, this was super, super clean, very smooth delivery. And again, it was just a mix of, discretion and experience, but then also understanding what the market wants to do before like it does something else. You know, again, I love just the concept that I constantly remind myself, and along with teaching my students, of like downtrends or uptrends, and then like what needs to happen before we continue down, you know, or like what needs to happen before we continue up. The pullback, fair value gaps, just looking at liquidity that needs to be tapped into or swept, and then immediately looking for an entry. It's like having dream scenarios in your head and executing them. Eventually, with more practice, you'll see which of your dream scenarios actually make sense and what actually works. And that comes with, screen time and reviewing your trades. But yeah, eventually you can go and do things like this. Man, if I really, really needed to take a third trade, then like this long right here up to all-time highs again was another great setup. I mean, a part of it might actually be that PM price action today was just like perfect. So, I mean, all glory to God. I'll probably be making another market review slash trade recap tomorrow. I've been enjoying making these and like, just sharing what's going through my head and my thought process. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. I'm really trying hard to post a long form video almost every day on my Discord, where I do trade recaps of the exact trade that I take every day. Feel free to join the free Discord and DM me on TikTok or Insta if you would like one-on-one coaching. And until next time, God bless you guys and hope you have a great day and great trading week.